Did I lie? That's a cold barrel. She will get louder yet. That was approximately 100 grams of gunpowder. This is a 3-pounder cannon. The rough rule of time, due to the energy carried in the gunpowder of the time, was you used a propellant charge of 1/3 of the weight of the projectile. She's a 3-pounder. Therefore, should have been loaded with... Come on, audience. The rough rule of thumb is your propellant charge is 1/3 of the weight of your projectile. She's a 3-pounder. Therefore, she would have been loaded with how much propellant? 1 pound of propellant. Thank you. So, what we would have had is a 450 odd grams of gunpowder. Let's say just 4 times. Okay, 4 times would have made this gun fire for real, fairly obviously, logically, 4 times louder. Not so! Let us add even more science. Your ears are sensitive to the amplitude of the sine wave, and the energy carried is related to the amplitude squared. We are now about to follow a square rule. Therefore, 4 times louder gets you how much? 16! She would have come across as being 16 times louder. We will now go through a drill by instruction load. Advance the word. This is a double helical screw thread. It is placed down the barrel, the only direction that the rotation will take the tines into action, and the operative will be listening to the squeak of metal upon metal all the way down to the business end. Want to hear it, want to feel it, and then as that implement is withdrawn, we'll stare intently at the tines. If there is any hint of a remainder of a previous round still smouldering attached to said tool, then it will go through the process again and again and again until he can, with confidence, declare, he better mean it. We're about to push fresh gunpowder down there. If there's any bit of a previous round still down there, it could go off without us being in control. Advance the sponge. This is a recently remade sponge, but it still is what it was before. It is a piece of animal fur on a stick. It is then dumped in a bucket full of water. Excess water is shaken off and placed adroitly down the barrel. We wish to take the heat off the previous round. The discharge of carbon, sulfur and potassium nitrate, if all of those proportions work exactly right, comes to a temperature of explosion of about 2,700 degrees C. It's orangey yellow with a hint of blue is the flame at 2,700. If we'd done this a few times running, that barrel is cherry red hot on the inside, and you're about to add fresh gunpowder down there? I think not. So, having taken the edge off the temperature and inverted said tool to the rad rod end, we then bring forth the charge. As stated earlier, this is approximately 100 grams of gunpowder, in this case backed up by pet bedding, but in reality it would have had, round its canvas bag or thicker than average paper bag, a wooden sabot, and attached to that would be a 3-pound ball. That is gently sighted in the piece using a couple of fingers, because at that moment everybody is in the biggest amount of danger when you push a fresh amount of gunpowder down the barrel. If it sights and it doesn't go off, You can then lean into it a tad and give it 3 hefty whacks to fully compress all of those bits to make certain that that temperature yields for you a hell of a lot of propellant pressure to make gases, which will send your ball out towards said enemy. Having made certain that it's home and nicely sighted, we now have a fully dangerous weapon. During all of this procedure, today's gun captain will have kept their least favourite finger in a gloved hand, but their least favourite finger over the vent hole. This is to exclude oxygen from the tubing whilst one is taking tools in and out. Otherwise, yet again, you may be fanning back into life a bit of gunpowder attached to a smouldering piece of cartridge that could indeed yield a ramrod and another implement being sent sailing forth approximately a couple of 100 metres that way with bits of human hand attached. So, the gun operative places their least favourite finger over that vent hole, because if she does go off not under control, unfortunately that finger, that part of that hand will be sacrificed. We have fired this gun at night and a blue-white touch hole concentrated flame comes back at you up the vent hole. It comes back at you up the vent hole to the level of my eyes, and I am 6'1". Therefore, it's not a nice place to have your hand over the top hole. You will sacrifice that hand. That bit of that hand will be blown asunder. Having made certain she's now loaded and reasonably safe, the said gun operative rummages in the pack to find a pricker. This is a brass or copper implement. Brass or copper, so that it is electrically earthed to the planet through them, and also a soft metal, so that you cannot induce a physical spark down onto the gunpowder. As it's placed adroitly in the piece, the business end is pricked through the thicker than average piece of paper. Thicker than average paper is called cartridge paper, because you can make cartridges out of it. So having exposed the gunpowder, under the orders of making ready, a fuse is inserted. A cupped hand is kept over that to exclude any sources of ignition, whilst the gun captain makes known to the overall commander that the gun is ready by having their right fist up in the air. And on that gun captain's command, they will now make ready and fire the piece.
Ready?
Beautifully fired. Excellent recoil. And a tad louder than the last one. Today's firer is detached from the third foot. Bumps, ladies and gentlemen. The gentleman in red. Thank you very much. And he did that with extreme skill. He is tending to what appears to be a piece of old window sash cord. It looks like a piece of old window sash cord because it is. Thank you. I still can't get to the three-part harmony, you know. We are trying. So, ladies and gentlemen, the chorus having echoed me, it is old window sash cord, but it's been dipped in a bucket full of concentrated potassium nitrate and then allowed to dry out. This puts in the weft and weave of that material, of that cord, little crystals. And those little crystals behave like one component of gunpowder, because that's what it is. And when it's lit, it will stay lit and it will sputter and it will give off an oily black smoke and it will smell. But as it does so, it then becomes a very predictable, slow burning cord. We call it slow match because it acts like a match, but it's slow. So, that window match cord is blown to cherry red heat at the business end, and on the command to present towards the weapon, it is lowered towards the cascabel end, and then rotated round to crisply deliver the red hot section to the bottom of the fuse, which ignites the fuse. Excellent, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very crisp drill, in which case we shall go for 3 rounds rapid. No, I said 3 rounds rapid. This is the Napoleonic times. This is Georgian artillery. By rapid, we mean about 1 a minute. That's as fast as our rate of fire goes, particularly if you take in mind that if you fire this gun for real, she'd be recoiling 3 to 4 metres backwards on every shot. They'd then have to be collected again, relayed on target before you can reload it. Any gun captain worth his salt in charge of a battery of 6 guns would order quite regularly rolling volley fire. Rolling volley fire with a 10-second spacing between each gun. Okay, why 10 seconds? There are 6 guns in a battery. I say again, why 10 seconds?
Why 10 seconds?
Because it adds up to 60 and your reload time is a minute. So by the time you've got to the firing of gun number 6 in your gun battery, gun number 1 should have reloaded, or they're on a charge. Oh, that was nice. As the next 2 come at you, get a feel for this. The pressure wave delivered by burning gunpowder is, as we said, an extremely compact beast. It's a tight wall of pressure wave. Not only that, but it travels better through the ground than it does through the air. So as you stood there, or as you sat there, get a feel for this. Because that pressure wave under your feet is actually travelling faster than the pressure wave through the air. So actually, physically, you get slightly lifted just before you get hit in the chest by the pressure wave of the sound. Did you feel it? Now I'll find you what you're trying to feel. Did you feel your feet move the lift from underneath just before you get hit in the chest by the main pressure wave? Okay, that's a 3-pounder, but it's only being loaded with 100 grams. In reality, it would have produced a wave with 4 times the amplitude, resulting in a wave that sounded and felt, and it was 16 times the size. And that's a 3-pounder. You'd have served in a battery of 6 guns. If it were volley fire, you've got 6 times that lot, all going off together, and each gun feels 16 times louder. Whoa. Your first ever action in a gun battery would have been the last time you ever distinctly heard anything. Beautiful round, absolutely crisply served, supremely loud and fire.